I'm in the game. I'm in the game. Hello, I'm in the video with my daddy.
All right, everybody. So, like past weeks, I got the heater going, so hopefully it's not a distraction for anybody. But today we are going to be talking. I'm going to let him plug his channel, but it's Seamus Finnegan from seamybmw. Hopefully I said that right. But we're going to be talking to him today, getting to know him a little bit better, and here we go. How's it going, man?
Good.
Hopefully I didn't botch your name too bad. You know.
You got the first name right, Seamus Finnegan, 100%. People have got it's probably the way I put it down on my shop cards. It's actually Seamy BMW. Seamy, short for Seamus, back home here.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I've been saying it wrong forever then.
Some of the guys are actually saying Seamy BMW. If you understand, it's Seamy BMW.
So, what do you do for work?
I'm actually retired now, so I am. Believe it or not, I was in the car industry since I was 16, and now I'm 48 in January. So I retired there about 2 years ago.
Oh wow! So what were you doing in the automotive industry?
Car body repair and painting.
Oh, okay. So does that explain some of the paint jobs and stuff that you get?
It helped.
It does help.
Helped a lot.
Because there's two things about your channel that really stand out: the paint, how they look, and the lighting kits. And we'll talk about the lighting kits in a little bit. But are you using automotive paint to do the paint jobs on those, or?
Sometimes I would use automotive paint, but most times I would use like the Valero or Tamiya, a couple of different brands. But for most of it, I would say it's really the acrylic side of it. The water-based paints, the Tamiya. Now the latest builder, which was the MT trucks, it's ongoing at the minute. That is a combination between automotive paints and the acrylic paints.
No, that's cool. How do you like the acrylics compared to what? Probably the enamels is what you were using in the.
I see, to be quite honest, I don't really like using enamels because it takes very, very long drying.
Okay.
I'm in the process of looking into one of them hydrators to try and cure the paint up a bit quicker if I do decide to use enamel. Now, I do have enamel paints there, but it's very rarely that I use them. So it is. But that is the only reason why I don't, because it takes too long to dry.
So with the I don't use enamels, so I haven't had to. But would a dehydrator actually help with all that?
From what I've seen on like the other channels, or some of the guys have got them, and they said that they work 100%. Like, so.
Oh, okay. No, that's cool. So what's the biggest tip from like doing that kind of stuff for work that you took into the hobby?
Patience.
Patience.
A lot of patience, and keep your fingers away from a soldering point.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we'll go into that once we get into the lighting kits, right?
A lot of patience goes a long way.
No, yeah. No, I totally get that. So what's the hobby scene like? You're in the UK, right?
Yeah.
So what's the hobby scene like over there? Because is it pretty popular? Is there a bunch of shops?
There's two main shops that I do shopping in for the model supplies. and one's about 20 minutes drive from here. The other one's about an hour and a half drive. Whichever kind of herbs you really need. But the biggest majority of the stuff that I would buy, it's online. In China, I'd buy it, as I said to you earlier. The modeling scene over here, there is a couple of groups, a couple of shows. There was one there in August, but it was in the south of Ireland. I missed it. I was intending to go to it. I was going to bring the erector around. I'd done there a couple of years back, bring it down to it, but I never get around to it. Things cropped up. It couldn't be helped.
And over there was just Telford, a couple weeks ago, right?
Telford is actually in England, so it is. It's not in Ireland. It's in England.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of the show here. It's actually in Ireland. It's based in the south of Ireland. It's in Wicklow, I think it is. Nearly sure the headquarters is Wicklow, south of Ireland here. Telford is in England. Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago. Where I think Al Wood was there. I'm nearly sure he was. And a couple of other guys.
Yeah, I the only reason I know that is because of Black Rifle Model Works, right? I follow his channel quite a bit. Luke's a pretty cool guy, and he does a lot of the dioramas and stuff that,
Yeah,
that's
I've seen
the
Luke's work. I've seen Luke's work, so I have.
Yeah. So the hobby scene's kind of what it is then. So do you shop? Where do you mostly buy kits from when you go online?
eBay or Amazon.
Amazon? Okay.
Amazon, yeah. I find Amazon's is slightly cheaper than eBay at times. If you were buying stuff, talks like this Ghostbusters right here beside me, I could get it in Amazon for about 35. eBay's going to charge about 50 odds. It depends on where you're shopping from.
Okay. So we've talked about the paint. I want to talk about the clear coats that you're using.
Right.
Because it's you have that contrast between and I could be wrong here, but you get that nice shiny paint job and then you do the black trims and stuff, and it's in the same. Do you just coat that all the same, or are you doing two different?
Well, the clear I use is a combination of either Tamiya's own, either the bottles, or sorry, the tins, or the wee jars, or sometimes it's more I'm using now is the 2K clear, the automotive side of it. After that's done, then basically it's a lot of masking up, careful masking, whatever it needs done after that, like some satin black, matte black, and any other color needing done beforehand, if you understand.
Yeah. So my question is, isn't the 2K clear for the automotive side of painting, right?
Yes.
So is there a big difference between putting it on a vehicle compared to a model kit? Because I've never used that stuff.
Not really. Personally, no, I don't think so. No, there's no difference at all. The only thing it's very smelly. I am used to it because I've worked with it since I was 16, so do the car trade. But if any other person, it's very smelly first time around. They can't get their head around that sort of thing, if you understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those products you got to have a mask for, right?
Oh yes, 100%. You do need a mask. I have one here sitting beside me. You couldn't use one without it.
Do you spray that stuff inside the house?
No, most times I would paint it outside in the front.
Oh, okay.
No, you couldn't get away. Now I do have a double booth set up here, but it's just not strong enough to suck those fumes away from the 2K clear, especially in the house. So all that 2K clear is done outside.
I knew you had the really big paint booth. That's why I asked that, because that stuff's pretty lethal, is how I understand it, right?
Well, it is it is poisonous. So yeah. It is.
Okay. So basically, you're just using whatever clear coat and the 2K for the clear coats, and then are you putting the decals on first? Because your decals are spot on.
Decals can be a nightmare sometimes. You only get one chance at it, especially when you're going to go down the road with lacquering over them. Once you make a mess, that's it. There's no turning back, sort of thing. Again, tassels can be decals or what you want to call them. Can be touch and go. Depends what brand you're going to use. The last brand that I used was on the BMW M6. It was a complete nightmare. I used microsoil, both red and blue. It made no difference. It just wouldn't adhere till the body at all. But did what it could. Did my best till it. Like, it didn't come out too bad. But for the biggest majority, yeah, I more or less clear over them.
And how many coats of clear are you putting over the decals?
Maximum of two. Two's enough.
Two?
For me personally, yeah. Two's enough.
Okay.
Some guys will get away with one, but I put the two over it. So what?
So that's probably what, like a mist coat, a full coat, and then what, a full coat, right? Is that how?
Yeah, what I would call be a tack coat first.
Oh, okay.
That'll be tacky before you put your other coat on. Something for the second coat to grip to. If you put it on just right away, have it, you're obviously going to get runs somewhere along the line. So you get a tack coat first, and for the second coat to really grip it, it eliminates runs more or less.
Oh, okay. No, that's a good tip. I'd love to say I'm really good at with an airbrush, and that'd just be a lie. It's just one of the things I'm still really learning, and it doesn't help that I'm in an atmosphere that it rains probably 10 months out of the year either. Dealing with what I got. So
well, if you can use a spray gun, which I've been using since I was 16 in the car industry, you can use an airbrush. Personally speaking, if you understand, it's only a smaller scale, smaller cup, but that is what it is, guys. You know what I mean? You do your best.
So which spray gun were you using?
What for the models?
Yeah, where either are, right?
Well, I was using an Airwatt for the models and an IPS for my main when I was in the body shop. IPS guns.
Now those are the full automotive. They're the ones that are like this big, right? With the big
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're just using a what type of airbrush?
It's the Iwata.
Oh, Iwata. Okay.
Iwata, yeah. Now I recently got one there called Bedstein and harder or something like that. They come out
Oh, Harden and Steenbeck or whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, but I having problems with that gun. It seems to be clogging up an awful lot around the needle, so I'll switch back to the Iwata again. So I have.
That's not the first person I've heard say that about those airbrushes.
Yeah, and they're not cheap. Some of these guns, you expect to pay for what you're paying for them to do their job and do it right. Some of the cheap guns that I was buying was, for me personally, I was getting a better result out of them. Now, you weren't getting long out of the gun. You maximum you're going to get about 3 or 4 kits before it needs a complete strip down and re-clean. Maybe sometimes you need new O-rings and so forth. Because some of the solvents that's in those, like the 2-pack thinners and so forth, they'll eat the rings in the airbrushes. They will destroy them. So I intend to use the cheaper side of the guns rather than using the more expensive side of the airbrushing.
So are you talking about the 2K clear kind of stuff, right? That'll eat the seals?
More so the thinners. When you're when you're cleaning your cellulose thinners, when you're going to clean the gun out again, because if you don't clean that gun out, you're only asking for trouble. You're actually going to destroy your gun, your airbrush. Right. Yeah, it's okay with the acrylics and so forth, Valero and Tamiya, to a certain extent, but if you're going to use the automotive side of it, you need to keep these guns pretty clean.
Yeah, see, I just use the acrylic paint. So I just use the Red Dragon model or Red Dragon's Jesus juice. And then if that doesn't clean it, I have this crud cutter down here on the floor. And if that doesn't take it out, then I have to actually get out the paint thinner or it's like, I just go one stream to the next, right?
As you do.
So what are some of your favorite tools to use when building?
I must, in my end of it, has to be a hobby drill. Because you're drilling out holes here and there, like the headlights, taillights, side markers. Where you obviously your light cables go through, the wire and so forth. Um, I do have a couple of pin vices, but sometimes it take a bit longer going through the plastic, if you understand. The wee power drill that I have for the hobby, it's quick and handy. Toolways, other tool has to be files. You need files. Need an awful lot of files. Sandpaper, sanding blocks, sanding sticks. The list goes on. Like more or less the same with the other guys would use.
Okay. Do you guys get a lot, like, you pretty much get all the stuff that we get over here in the States, right? Or is it like a completely different company?
I have ordered from the States a few occasions. The only drawback for me or ordering from the States is customs hit me hard. So if I was ordering a model, say for talk's sake, it was going to cost 50 pounds for, say for talk's sake, this Acto one beside me here. I would pay about £45 again, top it and postage. And then time I receive it here in Ireland, I would get a notification through either an email or a letter through the door from Royal Mail saying, we have your parcel in customs. You need to pay a release fee for us to deliver your item. And most times, as I say, when you get on, tell them last and how much is this release fee going to cost? It costs around between 45 to 55 quid. Bear in mind, the model is only cost me £50 to buy, if you understand. Then you're talking £45 postage, and then again, the sky's the limit. Sometimes with Royal Mail, they're constantly changing their prices with customs. So you be talking anywhere between 100 quid, £130 for a model. So I tend to stay away from buying any models from the States.
No, I would do the same thing, man. I couldn't afford that. That's completely understandable.
I do buy kits like a lot of armor kits or like the tank transporters and so forth. I buy them all in China. Now, believe it or not, I get them free postage, and that's coming from your side of the globe. So I could pay in around 75 quid for a German tank transporter, and it's include free postage. I don't understand where logic's coming from. Where if you're going to buy the same transporter, say in your part of the world, and you're going to pay another £55, £45 in postage to top it, then customs again. It's just I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, it's shipping rates are just getting ridiculous here too.
Yeah. Even I sent a little shop cards out there last week. As you know, I know what you guys probably do it different. They go by the weight. So, girl in the post office that says to me, we'd set your letters down on the weighing machine one at a time. Now, I sent 13, 14 letters out last week. It cost me I think it was in around 15 quid for sending 5 postcards out. It can get quite expensive out there, Will.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's I couldn't even imagine. That's crazy. That, and you would think, that stuff would not change as much as it does, but it just seems like lately postage is getting more and more expensive.
It's crazy. Like the last model I sent away to Doug Hensley way last year, the start of the year, or one or the other. It was built in all. I think it was a appreciation build. I think it was the Dodge. Just come remember offhand. Super B. Now I practiced to the best of my ability, and I put fragile all over this kit. Doug got it within, I think it was about within 10 days or something, like 9 to 10 days. And of course, he got it broke. Now, the side of the box, when it was packed in, you think somebody put a sledgehammer to it. You're paying for these things. You expect the other person to receive them in the same conditions you send them out.
Mm-hmm.
It's a joke. It is a joke. You do pay enough for them, especially shipping.
Well, and yeah, there's sometimes I've gotten stuff like from Amazon, and it looks like it was used in a soccer friggin' match.
Yeah,
It's
I have been down that road too with Amazon, and I've made complaints about them and so forth. The only thing that they would do is they'd offer you a refund or resend the item again. Most times I
yeah,
just ask them to resend the item.
yeah. Butch has got it right. Fragile means nothing to the post office.
No, 100%, but understand it. Yeah, no. You do. There's some about like soccer balls. I've seen a few videos. I'm sure the guys have seen it too on like YouTube, where the parcels have been unloaded from planes on the conveyor belts. It's pathetic. So it is. It's a joke.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I totally, yeah. It's, and then there's other times like like a hat, and that box comes in perfectly fine, and you're like, well, what the heck is this? It's like, I don't care if this gets damaged, it's fabric.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've had that happen a few times. Paint is another thing. If I order paint online, it can be extortionate. Because the flight industry classes that as flammable substance. So they would put a big hit on that for postage. So I could for talk's sake, I could buy 6 or 7 jars of Tamiya paint. Would cost me in around 13, 14 quid. Postage would overshoot that. Would cost about 45 quid. So I don't see the point of going out and buying it, working back in my local hobby shop, you understand? But it's not all the time the local hobby shop has it there. You get it quicker online, but you want to pay extra for it. They've got the other way. It's got the other ways. There's no way around it. Like if you want to paint bad enough, you want to pay for it.
Yeah, or you got to figure out how to go to Walmart and buy the cheap stuff, but then you don't get the kind of quality that you're getting, right?
I've used some of the like Deco art acrylic paints in the past. Again, they're not bad. So they're a hell of a lot cheaper. I would get a bottle for 99p a pound rather than paying 2.75, 3.75 a jar. To me, some along the same color. But it's not bad. Like so, it's not that Deco art paint, craft paint that is.
Right. So I think everybody's gonna start complaining if we don't talk about lighting kits up here in a little bit. I think that's why everybody's in here, because I classify you as one of the top 3 guys in the YouTube community for lighting kits. And
There's a few guys that
example is that Ghostbusters car next to you.
The Ghostbusters, that was one of those ones you saw you started, but you had to finish it. There's one of our guys.
And that's not a very good kit, right? That's not a good kit at all.
It was a hopeless kit in the sense where details was concerned. You could have built it either way, Actor 1 or Actor 1A, one or the other. I choose to go down the Actor 1 version. And I do have a manual on it, believe it or not, a Haynes manual, full of color illustrations. I'm sorry. But it was a bit of scratch building needs done on it. Now, if you're a more experienced modeler out there, you can go to town on it. But it wasn't worth my way because inside the car itself, there was no detail. The detail was very, very soft. And then there was no point detailing it because most of the windows are blacked out anyhow. So it defeats the purpose of detailing out, wasting time and energy and so forth. If you're not going to see it, it's a bit stupid. But yeah, it's really towards the younger youth. Maybe somebody starting off. Maybe I will have a go at that and take it from there, sort of thing. But it was a horrible build. So it was fitways was terrible. You had to shave off here, fill here, and so forth. It usually will carry on becoming, especially if it's an AMT. So this.
So when you're what are you buying for the lighting kit? That's the first question I have.
Right, what am I buying? Buying these here. I could say them done yesterday. There's what 6,000 here, is there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,000 SMDs. You have red, white, blue, green, orange, cold white, warm white. Again, I get these all from China. I got these this morning actually. This morning yesterday, what come up with? And I got them all for less than 10 quid. So
So
those are the warm white. So they are.
so my question is that just like here, so you can see my hands. Is that one of those that it just unrolls and then you just clip each light?
Yeah.
Or
Basically, I'll take one out here quickly. They all come in a roll. There's 1,000 SMDs in each roller. They would just pop out. There's like a wee film over them. But sometimes take them out, but we might have one in about there somewhere. Maybe not. But you get them all different sizes. These are actually the same SMDs that they would use on backlighting TVs, like some plasma TVs, LED TVs, and so forth. There's one there, and that's the biggest one that I have. That'll be the biggest one I use like for headlights and so forth. The other ones that I'd use are actually are about 2 millimeters, by likes of number plates and so forth. But that'll be warm white. The other one is actually bright white, cold white.
So how big is that? That's the
That,
biggest one, right?
that's the biggest one. You're talking. Don't need have a ruler. You're talking about 8 millimeters.
Oh, okay.
So you are in length and about 4 millimeters in breadth.
So
Say,
so how do you wire those? Is my next question. Because
how do I wire them? Well, again, a wee vise setup or not a vise, a wee rig I done there a wee while back. It's just a set of tweezers, split in half, and then a screw onto a bit of board, bit of wood sort of thing. I showed it in a couple of tutorials. It holds the SMD in place until I tin it with the solder, and then just tin your wire. The wire is about here somewhere. Is it there? They use the magnet wire. Again, being enamel, it's 0.2 millimeters in diameter. But being coated in an enamel, you need to strip the enamel off first. I don't know if you guys can see it there. It's
there's
around about the breadth of a human arm, maybe slightly thicker. But you need to strip the enamel off that first before you can actually solder it to the SMD. But I just dip it into the flux paste, and then with a taste of tinning, just tins the end of it, and then you can solder it to the SMD. Same principle all the way through the range. Maybe the big one, small one, or the micro ones. It just depends what type of SMD you want to use.
So how are you soldering those? Are you just using just the stuff you get from like the automotive store, or?
No, I actually have a soldering station here beside me at the minute under my bench with a soldering iron and a heat gun. That does the job for me. It's actually it says in the description for the soldering station. It covers me for voltage, for soldering, for melting, soldering. If circuit boards that maybe needs components changed, I can use the heat gun on it to melt the solder to replace it with a new one. And it's handy for drying the paint too, as well. The heat gun, it's actually built into the soldering station.
Okay, so all right, someone asked this question. Rosin core solder?
Yes.
Is that good stuff to use, or?
Yes. It's what I normally mainly use. Yes.
Okay. I don't know much about that. So I'm is that just the generic off the brand with it's all that kind of stuff, or is that one of the better types?
For me, it works fine for me. So it does. There's other brands out there you can get, but if you pay cheap, you're going to get cheap sort of thing. Now, some of the cheap solid you're going to get, it does give off poisonous fumes. Now, the solid I use is reasonably okay, because I have a wee extractor set up where to suck the fumes away when I'm soldering it.
So are those fumes like extremely dangerous to breathe in, or is it just like hairspray?
No, yeah. They can be extremely dangerous, yeah.
Yeah.
Number one, you're going to get a terrible migraine. I've had bad sore heads in the past until I realised what was causing it. It was a soldering. So I say this shot my about and got a wee extractor just to pull the fumes away from the solder.
Mopar's got all the good questions today. Do you use a resistance soldering? I don't know what that means, but
No, he's going to have to explain there. So he is himself, because I just use regular soldering.
okay. It's a good question. I have no idea what it's, but
He has to be stubbed as well, so he has. I can make these words up.
right. So talk about circuit boards for a minute. How important are those to wiring a kit? Or can you get without doing it? Does it matter? Or
9 times out of 10, I don't really use circuit boards. So don't. Now, I have done them in the past. It's just hiding the boards in the bills. Maybe it's stock sake like a 124 scale car. And I know some of the boards can be quite small. They're Arduino boards, but I tend to stay away from them because there's a lot of programming involved with the computer and so forth. Send messages to it, the likes of a blinker or a flasher or whatever you want to put into it. So I tend to stay away from it and just wire it directly to the SMD with a resistor and use an off and on switch if needed.
so no, that's cool. That's a good tip. I would have thought you were using circuit boards to do some of the lights that spin, right? Or are those just flickering back and forth?
Some of them lights that I do program through the Arduino board, and then I would feed off them. Maybe like the front indicator, front headlamps, the wig back and forth, which I done there a while back on one of the police cars, which was the Dodge Monaco, black and white. I done that a couple of years ago. I'm actually in the middle of doing another one at the minute. I done that along the same lines where I fed off the original wig at the top of the light bar for your 2 headlamps, rather than putting an OR circuit into it to make that wig back and forth. Just all wee tricks you learn as you go along, sort of thing. And believe it or not, I'm still picking things up as I go along. Now you do get to see some of the guys on the other channels is actually doing some of the wiring. There's a few of them here at Trackworks. I've seen a few of his videos. That guy goes to town and he's doing likes to the Star Trek and Star Wars and so forth like that. I've learned tricks, tips off himself, by watching his videos. So it's just about what you learn. It's what you watch, you learn from. If you understand, if you mean what I mean, sorry.
And with him, he uses a lot of those lighting control kits.
Yes,
he's doing the Star Trek stuff, right? That's why I was curious if you were doing the same thing, because
they're actually as far as I know, they're actually pre-wired or pre-programmed and all sort of thing. I think they come with the lights as well, like the fiber optics maybe, SMDs and so forth. There's other ones you can buy out there just as the board. You have to add the lights to it. But as I said earlier, I just tend to stay away from the boards. They're more of a nuisance to me than anything else. Now I can't do them. I just tend to stay away from them, just for my own peace of mind sort of thing.
So we have gotten a couple more questions. What happens if a light fails? Do you fix it?
normally, if a light fails, I have had that this past way back. I don't watch down that bad batch of SMDs I've got, or it's just been a break somewhere along in the circuit. Yes, I can replace them, but sometimes it can be more trouble than it's worth. Because if say we talk safety headlamp in one of the Scania trucks, one of the lamps has been out or failed or starting to fail. If I take the headlamp out and try and replace it with an RSMD, there's very, very little room I can work with replacing that, because I've cut the wires back to suit it, the first installation, if you understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy to start soldering wires back onto it again. So sometimes it's touch and go. Sometimes, yes, it can be done. Yes, I do it, but most times I would just leave it be.
Well, that's understandable. I mean, I can see how all of that's kind of not on an easy level to fix. I totally understand that. The next question is, do you use fiber optics to send light
Yes.
into small areas?
Yes, I have used fiber optics. I was planning to use the fiber optics on the AMT build here at the ongoing at the minute, the Coca-Cola truck. I might still use that, but I just recently bought, excuse me, let's get stuff here. It's called EL wire. It isn't as bright as, I might have to turn the lights out first to be glowing. It's not as bright as the SMDs or LEDs. I'll actually turn it on. Probably won't see it. You're not going to see it unless I turn the lights out here, so bear with me. If you want to see a slight glow in it, little flash, slower flash and so forth, that's it off completely. Now you can't get this in all different lengths. It's bendable. You can get it in any places, which you'll find it probably hard to get until
And that's that stuff that you were showing on that video today, right?
That's right. Yes.
Today, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's gonna look cool on the side of that truck.
The truck is 2K clear and so forth. Getting glue to stick to 2K clear is near enough impossible sometimes. Now, I would use the super glue, but you only get one chance at it. If you mess up, you're going to mess up your paintwork. So I don't know the way it's going to work with this particular stuff here. It's a weird substance. I don't know if it's plastic or rubber. Maybe a combination of both. I just don't know. So I'll have to try glued another piece of plastic that's pre-painted, if you understand, before I start putting it onto the truck itself, because I don't want to make a mess out of it at this stage. If that doesn't work, then I'm going to resort to the fiber optics. Take it from there.
So can you cut that stuff down to shorter lengths? I'm assuming they're talking about that thing you were just showing.
It does be instructions leaflet here. It does say you can cut it, but it says it's the first time I've really used it, and I did that a couple of years ago. I don't think I ever used it then. It says here you can cut it in 1 millimeter lengths is okay. Anything over that, you probably only ask for trouble. But I did get, there is 5 lengths that came out. I think altogether there's that length I showed there earlier today in the video. It's roughly about 1 meter. So we get 5 meters of it. This stuff here. It's all plug and play sort of thing. So I'm going to have to cut those down before I put them onto the rig itself. Now, I don't know where I'm going to get just yet, but I'll work around it some way or other. Because you don't want to have these big, bulky plug and play sort of things in there in the model. For me, it just takes the look off it. So I intend to hide them as best I can. If they run up chassis, under seats and so forth, or in the back of the trailer itself, if there's a box section put onto it.
No, and the next question is, why wouldn't you try to use double-sided tape? You could also remove that.
Double-sided tape will last for a certain length of time before it'll fall off. Double-sided tape, it gathers a lot of hairs, a lot of static and so forth. Sooner or later, you're going to see a lot of fine hairs and so forth, dust, and sometimes small flies stick to it. I've used it in the past. It has looked okay at first, but as the weeks has gone on, you can see the dirt grip into it. It's just like a magnet, so I don't use it.
Oh, okay. That's a good point. That's a good point. I wouldn't. I could see that. Okay, so your soldering gun. Are there good tips to have with that, or are there things to avoid with using those? Because there's
Solid
all
gun here at the
kinds of
minute.
different types.
I have an ultra fine tip here on this at the minute because of the SMDs. Some tips you get thicker, some are actually smaller and so forth. But this one here is, I would say, 99% of the time I do all the soldering with, because I don't really go up in the heavier end of the soldering. So I don't.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'm going to change that tip out. I'll have your tip. But you can't get cheap tips, but you pay for what you get, as I said to you earlier. You can get 15, 20 then for less than $5. If you're going to buy a proper one, it's going to cost you a couple of pounds rather than buying the cheap version.
And is that one of those that you can adjust the temperature on, or is it just a straight
Yes,
plug and
I'll
go?
actually show you here in a moment. I'll actually swing the camera in here. I'll show you. There's my soldering station there.
Okay, I have so many more questions.
So this top one, it will start counting up to three, the temperature range. I'll just turn it off. Top one there is for your heat gun, which is here. And then that bottom one there regulates my voltage for testing the lights and so forth before putting resistors onto them.
Wow. Okay. Do you have to have that box to solder? Because that's not a cheap thing, right?
Again, I got that in China I'd say about 7 or 8 years ago, and I paid 45 quid for that.
Oh,
Free
that's not cheap.
postage. Free postage from China. Now, the same one, exactly the same one on Amazon, was £275 plus £35 postage. And that was when I called from England. I got it from China, your part of the globe, for £45 free postage. So how to work that out, it's just beyond me. And I wonder how these small businesses are folding. We're going to start charging people like that, prices like that. It's just beyond me. But it is a good thing to have. It's 3-in-1 sort of thing. You got your heat gun, your soldering iron, obviously, and then your voltage regulator for testing your lights and so forth before you start plumbing into your kit. Depends on what kit you're going to put it into.
So that was going to be my next question. How does that? Do you have to plug the LED into that box, or is there just clips that go into that, or how does that work?
No. I have 2 test probes I use for testing my SMDs. Sometimes you would get a roll, the odd roll here, I showed you earlier, the warm white. They all look the same, but in the odd one or two, you would probably get a different color. So I'd always test it before start soldering it together. There's no point in having it all soldered and so forth. Right, I've got 2 wires done, 2 lights done here. I'm going to plug them into that bumper. And you turn the power on, and one's red and one's white. So I always test them beforehand. Now, it's not all the time that happens, but it has been known to happen. So
That's
quality
crazy.
control has a wee thing answer to there. So that's
No, and that's some of the things that I wanted to ask, because I have some of the Star Trek stuff, right? And I want to light it up, but it's.
I do have a load of Star Trek stuff out there. One I bought there a few years back was Revel's Star Trek Into the Darkness. Um, I've never got around to doing it. The rest of the kits are all AMT kits, like the Klingons and so forth, the Voyager, some of the original Enterprise kits. Again, I just had to be in the right frame of mind to start something. There's no point in me saying, I'm going to pull that kit out and we'll go right into it and so forth. And a couple of days into it, I'm fed up with it now. I don't want to do it. I just really had to be motivated to start something again, because some of those bigger ships are going to, but there's going to be more lights, more strobes, more like nacelle lights and so forth. For like the red or blue, depends what model it is. You just had to be ready for your mind to start one of those kits. It's just easier for me to pull out a kit like the ANT one here or the Ghostbusters one I've done last and do that, stick with it, rather than taking out one of the bigger kits, AMT, like the Voyager or something, or Star Trek Into the Darkness kits.
So this is just me, right? For you, I would love to see you do one of the Enterprises, or one of those, just to see your take on it, right? Because I don't think you would do it exactly like Trek works, right? But you would definitely put your spin on it.
Everybody has their own ways of doing things. Some do it more harder than others. That's probably with me. Yes, I will probably get around to it, but in the new year, I plan to start one of my big ships, next to the 200 scale Titanic. It is going to be quite a big project. I have built Titanic models over the years. I was always fascinated with Titanic from secondary school up until I left school and so forth. I've seen all the films, documentaries, and books and so forth. And it was only recently when Trumper came out with that kit there about 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. He said, I'm going to have it. And I did buy it there during the summer. So it might be on the bench in the new year. So it might, fingers crossed. Again, that's going to take a lot of lighting. Now, the kit did come with lights, but they used the old LED versions. And for me personally, the lights that came with it, like so the bridge lighting, the LEDs they give you with the kit were way overscaled. And I've seen now some of those kits built with some of the guys who've actually used the original LEDs. And it just looks wrong on all levels. So for me personally,
wait. Why is that wrong on all levels?
Because they're overscaled. They're way overscaled. The lights, yeah. The lights that came with the original trumpeter kit, they're way overscaled. They just don't look right at all, especially in the dark with the rains lit up and so forth. It's daft. So if I wanted to change most of the LEDs out, the SMDs, the LEDs that they have with the kit are actually 2mm and 3mm. I don't have actually any at hand here. No, I've everything packed away, but they're just too overscaled. So you are for the kit itself.
So basically, you're saying instead of having like a spotlight inside the car, because that's what they're basically giving the kit, you want more of like a pin light.
Yes, the smaller SMDs I would use. Again, you're probably going to. That's the interior lighting of the cars you're speaking of.
Yeah.
Smaller SMDs I would use here. I don't even have any with tweezers on it. So that's the type that I would use for the interior lighting and dashboards and so forth and number plates now. Okay. It's actually inside the tweezer.
I can't even. It's so blurry, but that is so tiny.
I'll put it on the top of my finger. You might see it a bit better there.
It's probably going to disappear, to be honest.
I don't even know where the camera is here. You just about probably see on the top of the finger there.
That's a light? Holy crap.
There is actually smaller than that. So there is actually smaller than that. I actually did one a while back, which was for the 135 scale figure for the direct diorama. And the guy was holding a torch, so I put a wee torch on his hand and lit the torch up. That was 35 scale. That was small. So get. Oh, you see what I haven't seen it first.
So how much harder is it to do those little bitty lights?
It's for me. I'm well used to it. I have a big magnifying glass here, comes over my head with a light on it and so forth, and exaggerates the image enough for me to solve it. So for me personally, there's just really no difference in the bigger SMD I showed there at the start, other than the smaller one there. The magnifying does work, does its job, and it really is helpful.
And is that one of those that you got to make sure you don't over solder it?
Yes,
Because that can ruin a light too, right? Is that how I understand that?
the smaller one there I showed you, and then there's smaller one again, as I said, you don't like too much heat. You'll burn them right quick for all the size that they are. So you're really just tipping them with the solder a split second either side the anonoid for your wire to want to. Anything no longer than a split second, you run a risk of destroying the SMD. Now the bigger ones you get away with slightly wee bit longer, but as I say, it only takes a split second for you to tip it and for your solder to go onto, for your wire to go onto it.
I'm the first one to say I need a tutorial on how you do all that.
I have done a few tutorials in the past, and as I said earlier to you, if you want to learn sort of things like this, for me personally, there's no point in cutting corners fast forward until 5 minutes into the video. You're going to miss 3 or 4 minutes previous, you understand? They tend to last, as I say, between 10 to 15, 30 minutes long, some of these tutorials. So I really have stopped doing them because I don't think there's a big interest in it.
Okay, yet again, I'm probably one of 18 people watching. All would say I would watch every minute of that episode. And I have watched some of your tutorials. They are really, really good and informative. So it's not like, yeah, I would say I would watch all that. But I'm also trying to learn how to do that for future projects too.
There is a lot of guys out there that does this. I'm not the only one that does it. There's a lot of guys out there that does it.
I know TrekWorks Boyd has done a tutorial on that too, and it's super informative.
I think he's actually working on one of the Enterprise ships at the minute. So he is. I don't know which one it is now. I know it's one of the Enterprise. I don't know if it's the old or refit or whatever it is he's building. But as I said earlier, there's a few guys out there that's doing it.
Yeah. But that's just me. I would watch every second of that just because you're like I said, you're one of the top, I'll say 3 or 4 people on YouTube that your kits look accurate. Because there's some guys there's some kits that light in like the whole like cab of the truck, and it looks like there's like a spotlight in there somewhere.
It's each to their own sort of thing. Everybody builds their own standard. Can't fault it for in any way, shape, or form. I'm doing this I'll be 48 in January, so I'm doing this since I was about maybe 10-year-old. And not the wiring sort of for the side of it, building kits from when I was about 10-year-old. I think the first kit that I lit up was a Russian helicopter. Can't remember what name it was or what make it was, but I know it was Russian. It was a 1/72 scale, and I actually put Christmas tree lights into it. So it all stemmed from them. So I did, and that's gone back 25 years ago, maybe more.
So my last question on the lighting side of it is, how important are resistors? Oh, what the heck?
Resistors. Again, I have resistors sitting here. Resistors are very important, especially for the SMDs. If you're not going to have a resistor wired to it, once you connect your power right away, it is going to pop. That's a resistor there. You probably see it a bit better. Again, you're not going to see it unless I put it on my finger. Just dropped it. So you always need a resistor in line with any SMD. So if you have 10 SMDs, you're going to need 10 resistors. On the keyboard here.
Well, that depends on the power of the resistor, right? Or am I totally wrong on that?
Can you see it okay? Oh, you can
And
see
I
it
could
here.
be wrong.
Stop my finger there.
Wait, that's a resistor?
That's one of the resistors. As I said to you earlier, when I was using the old LEDs, some of the LEDs I was buying, they had built-in resistors, but they were old ceramic type, and were big and bulky, and you couldn't get them in round curves or in the headlight bezels or taillight lenses and so forth, and behind dashes and you name it. So to cut that down, those smaller resistors, you can hide them almost anywhere. So you can't rather than say those bigger ceramic ones. Again, all these LEDs and SMDs, solder, and whatever else I use here on the bench, all comes from China. Can't afford to buy it on likes of eBay England, which is just across a channel for me, which people have swam across in the past. And for me to buy it in England is state of nonsense. So I buy it all from China, buy it in bulk, get it a hell of a lot cheaper. The only downfall of coming from China, it could take up to 6 weeks.
No, that's really really good info. Because how I understood it with some of the LEDs, some of them don't need resistors, but that's because they're built in. I'm not sure how all that stuff works.
Some of the pre-wired SMDs have built-in resistors.
And then there's a math equation that goes with that, right? That how you have to figure out the light to the power to the
Newton's law and all that kind. That can be mind-boggling at times, especially ohms and all that kind of. I just stick with the resistor that works for me. It powers my lights and so forth. I just leave it at that. It does get a bit mind-boggling after a while. So I just no, that's not for me. I'll just stick with the resistor I understand. Okay. There's different resistors out there, but we're doing different jobs and so forth. But the one that I've found just does this job for me, like sort of thing.
Okay. So we've hit about that hour mark. So let's show off the Ghostbusters car. And then I've got pictures of some of the other stuff that you've done, and you can talk about it when it's up on the screen. But and if you can, try to turn that thing on too, because it's really impressive.
The kids love it. I have a couple of nieces and nephews, and every time they come up to the house, I have to try and move my kids to the road because kids being kids, they want that sort of thing. And the next thing you know, it's in pieces. This just works off an only 9-volt square battery. Now I can't work off the mains, but for easy sake here, I just turn it on. You got all your blues and twos.
Oh my
god. Your headlamps. There was supposed to be a strobe bar, but didn't put the strobe into it. That flasher was supposed to be further down. I decided to move it further up. This doesn't want to clash in with the blue light. You have 2 static blue lights here at the front. You have 2 static ones at the back as well. And then you have your main tail lights there, like your bullet lights, and then your main bottom lights. There's no number plate in this, so there's no point putting any number plate light in it, so just left it at that. The sign here which says we're back was done through backlighting sort of thing. So the original tassels that came with the kit, I tried it at first on the Ghostbusters side. It didn't come out as good as I thought it was going to come out. It came out really pixelized. So I decided to buy lettering, sticky pack lettering sort of thing. Put it on the back of clear plastic, sprayed it black, and took my lettering off and give me the Ghostbusters sign, and then just moved with a clear red. That ended up that result. Same for the green side there. So I think there's for every letter I think there's 11 letters there. There's 11 SMDs in behind it and 11 resistors. The other side, you only a few letters there. So again, same principle as the opposite side. Every letter there is there, there's an SMD plus a resistor. Your sound card, that goes on for about 20 seconds, but you can turn it off at any given time.
How difficult is it to do the sound stuff for that?
It's not as hard as you would think. Knock it over. It's not as hard as you would think. I would download it mostly off Google, like maybe YouTube or something. If somebody has maybe say it talks like a video clip of the siren itself, or maybe a backing of the movie theme mixed in with the siren. That's where I actually got that from. Just downloaded it onto the sound card and recorded it, and then added my switches and so forth, and took it from there, sort of thing.
Yeah, like Terry just said, not only the lighting kits look amazing, but the kits itself look really clean and awesome. And I don't disagree with that. It is spot on.
As I said earlier, you build to your best ability. Some build better than others. But sorry, let me rephrase that. Not bad with anybody. You can't. Everybody has their own build level. You understand where I'm coming from? Some people might think that's a dog's kahunas sort of thing. There's always say, no, I don't like that. It's each to their own. You know what I mean? So it's each to their own.
Well, and that's why I asked you what you did for a living, right? Because you can kind of tell that it was something in the automotive world or something because of how the paint jobs look and then how you're incorporating the lights into it.
When I left school at 16, I went into my apprenticeship. I done the panel beating and refinishing side of it. I done it for almost 30 years. I worked with my main training program was with BMW, hence the name seamybmw on my channel. So I done all my training with BMW. I actually left BMW mid '94, maybe '98, and moved up into Honda. Worked for Honda for about 5 or 6 years. I left Honda to work with Fate. I didn't like just didn't get along with body shop manager at that particular time, so I left that. I'm not going to that story. And then I moved into coach building, like the limousines and hearses. There was a guy I worked for here a while back. He done limousines and hearses for the continent, like Dubai. Like the Arabs would buy some of his limousines and hearses. They were all done white. Very seldom. There was some done pink limos, pink hearses. So of all that to fall back on, like the bodywork and the painting and so forth, so it did help. But I'm actually retired now. I had to retire through health problems, which I'm not going to. But it stands by me still to this day. It does. I do the occasional homework here and there.
Yeah. And then, so I'm going to bring up some pictures. They should show up on your screen.
Yep.
And then you can talk about them for a second, because I mean
that
that's
was
a Ferrari.
That was for Ron's appreciation build a couple of years back.
Okay.
That was Tamiya kit.
There's that, and then there's your tow truck.
That was Rebel. That belonged to Rebel. That was a nice build, so it was.
And I think this is the same. Yeah, that's. So here's one picture of the. I want to say this is what, Resident Evil?
That was the Resident Evil that I done 2 years ago. Was it 2 years? Not last year, not this year, the year before. Yeah, 2 years ago. That was the Mercedes.
Here's more of the, lights and stuff.
Yeah, the figures were 3D printed. I used the Photon 3D printer for the figures and so forth. Some of the liquors, which is actually it's on the roof of the trailer. You probably not seeing that angle. They were all printed too. And there's a
Oh, wow.
combination of some of the master box figures, like the police officers, the vehicles there. They were they did a box sort of thing. They weren't 3D printed, but the biggest majority of all the zombies and the rest of the figures was down the back of the truck. They're all 3D printed. And then the
No,
dash.
I mean that's the last of the pictures. The only thing I couldn't get up to show is like what the tanks and stuff that you used to do, because you've done a little bit of armor and stuff too, right?
Yes, I've actually the group build started there last week, but I want to get that AMT contraption out of the road first before I start any more work this side of Christmas, which is the 2 builds coming up, which is this one. I plan to start that as soon as I finish the AMT truck. That there's for the armor group build. Now you don't get any figures with it, so I'm going to rob figures out of an art kit that I have here with it. Which is a tank. You get 10 figures with this one, so I'll take the figures out of this one and I'll add them to the previous kit, the Sherman.
Oh,
So they should fit in well with that scout car. But yes, I've done a load of armor in the past. They're all in the display cases and so forth, like the rest of the other builds, like the cars and whatever else. I've built a few aircraft carriers. Built the Enterprise a few years ago. I did that again. Intended to light up with the run strip on that, the runway sort of thing, if you want to call it, the flight deck, sorry. Intend to light the flight deck up on it. And then I've got the JFK, the Nimitz, all on 350 scale. These things could be close to maybe 3.5 feet long. So, yeah. There's not one kit that I haven't tried to build or tried to light. There's not. If I can do it, I'll do it. Try it. If it fails, it fails. That's it. You know how to try it again.
Yeah,
But
Fred Henry says,
you learn as you go along, sort of thing. You know what you're capable of. I'll always try my hand at something. If you don't try, you're not going to learn. That's the way I look at it. So, as I say, try it once. If it works, fair enough. You take it from there and you move on to the next model. You learn me tricks and tips along the line, so you do when you're building sort of thing. As all the other modelers do, they learn tricks and tips. So they.
no, absolutely. And Fred says you need to light up the NASCAR group build.
I had that discussion with Jeff last week on Facebook. We're talking to him. I don't see many NASCARs. I'm not a NASCAR fan. I don't really watch it. You don't see many NASCARs going about the track with headlights and taillights. If you're going to get smashed up along the lanes, it's been pointless putting lights into it. Now, Jeff did point out, he says, you can't light the dashboard. I'll probably be the only thing I light the dashboard if I do decide to do it.
It's all right. Brian's already getting on Fred about there's no lights. So I don't know. I haven't watched NASCAR in a couple of years. I was gonna try to do that group build, but they said no snap kit, and that's the only NASCAR kit I have left. So,
well, this will be my first NASCAR. I never built a hot rod. I'm telling lies. I might have built a hot rod. I built a hot rod a few years back there for Jeff. And I sent it to him again. He got that in pieces, and I packed that well. I was the Black Widow. Again, that was lit as well. Never built any other hot rod from that, or I've never built any NASCAR or Pro Street or anything like that. It's getting those type of cars on eBay or Amazon, because most of them are going to come from the States. And again, as I said to you earlier, you're going to pay more and above than what you want to pay for. You understand? They sometimes would do a trade to the guys on if they want a particular car, truck, whatever it is, and if they have a kit that I'd want, I would do a trade that way. And that's the only reason. That's the only way I would get them. You understand? Like I said, some of the Johan kits, some of them kits are really nice, but again, I can't justify
They
paying
they want
postage on them.
arm
Yeah.
and a leg for that kit.
Now,
Yeah, no.
now I know there's a video going about now at the minute called the Holy Grail kit sort of thing. I've been after a particular kit for quite some time, and it's made by Ravel. It's a Condu record. I think there's two versions of it. There's a red and white version, then there's a blue version on it. I think there's something along the lines of something copyright back then. I don't know, maybe I can't get the story 100%, but they've never reissued it. Now, the bat now, you're talking pre-owned. It's very, very seldom you're going to get one that's new. And if you do see one new, last one I was looking at there was yesterday, funny enough, it was 500 quid. 500 quid to ship it from the States. And again, postage. It's just no way in God's planet that I would pay that type of money for any kit.
So this is my question, and I think it's a European company, but what about Airfix? They have some unique stuff over there, right?
As far as I know, Airfix don't do any trucks in 124 scale. Now, I know they do a lot of planes, Spitfires and so forth. Do a lot of tanks in 72 scale and the odd 76 scale and whatever. I have built Airfix in the past. The last one I've done there was last year. Sorry, I started the year, which was hosted by BG and Sean over in Skillmall Channel. That was for the small scale group build. That was 172 scale Airfix. That kit was built in original print of it was in 1978, I think it was. So that was as small as I built an Airfix range. And I'd say I do have Airfix there, but again, I can be touch and go with them. Some of the real older kits, they're something else like to work with.
So there's been a couple questions that people had, and I think it was only because someone walked by. They asked if you had a personal chef.
That'll be my wife.
No, that was your son.
Almost.
He's going to work.
Which one? There's a couple walk past there. My wife walked past another. My son, no, he works in the bar here back at home, so he knows he's just getting ready to go.
Okay.
I know you.
No, that is one of the questions, and then
your own personal butler.
Well, I mean, technically, that's why we all have kids, right? Right. So we've hit over that hour mark. Did you have any questions for me?
I know you do a lot of the 3D printing.
Yeah.
I have two 3D printers here. One is the resin printer, which is just off camera here. See which way? It's in the corner there. The Anycube Photon. The other one is the filament one, which is I can't remember the name of the manufacturer. I think it's Any8 or something like that. It's a weird name, but it's a big platform. Build ways, you're talking height ways. If I was to build Stephen Toxic and vase, you would get close to 2 feet in height ways. I've never ever set it up. So I've set the machine up, but it's the software end of it. I just can't get my head around the software end of it. And just kind of be getting the grips of the Photon printers software, Anycubic. I think it's Chitterbox that I use with it. But the other side of the bigger printer, I just can't get my head around it at the moment. I have to set myself down some of these days and try to understand the software.
So, and we can talk offline too. But my question is, what slicing program are you using for that?
Chitterbox for the Photon.
Okay, so that's for the resin printer.
That's for the resin printer, yeah.
So what are you using for the filament printer?
I haven't set that up. I've got the printer all set up, built and so forth, but I've no software as such to use it. If you know what I mean. There was a test print that came with it. I think I printed a beer mat. That's about it. Other than that, I printed the beer mat. That's going back in its box again, sort of thing. So it hasn't been in its box in over a year, 2 years almost.
So to answer that question, I use Cura.
Sure.
The
Will that cover a multitude of printers, Nick, or just one particular printer?
it has the stuff for multiple printers. That's the one I use because it's just the one that I got. But there's another one. I think it's called Simplified 3D, but that one you have to pay for. So that's why there's a free
No,
option.
there's no point in paying for something if you can get it for free. It's a bit
Right?
odd.
we already pay enough in this hobby, right? But
And some.
you know, it's kind of
It
one
can
of
be
those
quite,
things.
it can be
It's
quite
one of those,
expensive.
huh?
It can be quite expensive. So it can.
Yeah. And we just, with trying to keep the hobby working, but for the most part, let me see if I can share my screen here. And we can go over this real quick. But the big thing is getting oh, where'd it go? Of course, my computer's probably not going to work now.
It's always a way.
Right.
Doesn't play with you all when you want to.
So a lot of this is just getting it set up. Like you can pick different printers. Like you just got to know which one you have, right?
Right.
And then in here, and then there's a setting thing. I just open it all up. You have what size of filament or, thickness of the filament that comes out of the nozzle. And you can have anywhere from 0.016 to 0.2, And then there's a 0.16, but that's super fine. And it takes instead of days, it takes weeks to get stuff done. So I don't like using that one. But a lot of this it's just letting it use the selections that it has. Wall thickness, I generally just leave that basic. You have lines, concrete, zigzag. I usually leave that at lines. But a lot of these, there's infill. So you can change this to where it's 5%. Or you can do 100%. 100% is all filled up. There's no...
That's solid, more or less, and weight.
More or less solid. And I don't like it like that unless it's
I think you're using more filament then.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to waste.
So this is where it gets tricky. The pattern. I like the zigzag option. Gives the prints a little more stability because it's it's not the same pattern. It's not in a cube, it's not in a circle. It's kind of all over the place. Printing temperature, that's the filament. You need somewhere between 180 and 200.
Yeah.
The only time I go above 200 is if I'm cleaning the nozzle. Build plate temperature, I like to keep it around 60. Speed, now this is your preference, but what I have learned, if you put it at 35, you get better print quality.
Is it the quicker it built, quicker it prints, the more detail, or is it less detail?
The problem you're going to have is the faster it goes, the higher quality is it's going to hit the support or it's going to knock something out because it's just going so fast, right?
Yeah.
If you slow it down, it's actually going to do what it's supposed to do, and you get you won't knock over supports. You know, you're still gonna have to get the bed level and stuff.
So obviously you're going to need your supports like the 3D printing, the resin printing. You still
Yeah,
need
it's there's it's just as complicated as the resin stuff, but like retraction distance, I leave it at 7. The retraction speed, I mean, that's 45 millimeters per second. So that's actually pretty decent. I
yeah.
usually try to leave it about there. Cooling, that's for the fan. The fan won't run the first couple layers, but once it's on, I usually just let it run 100% because I'm out here in the garage.
Well, my fan runs constantly on that resin, or sorry, on the filament printer. When I had set it up first, it runs constant through the print. And it's in the first print, it was a beer mat. It run all the way through it. It run for about 8 hours for a beer mat.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what was on the USB stick it came with it. There was no way of checking what it was. When I put it in the computer, it just go fail. Didn't give you a description or diagram or a picture of any way, shape, or form. So I just put it into the printer and that'll do what it had to do. I said it took 8 hours to print a beer mat. And the 8 hours it run for, the cooling fan run for that length of time. So I don't know what's going to be like if Steve talks you could do a set of wheels or a bumper or some sort as a printer, or is the fan going to run the same length of time as it does the print? Is there any way of shutting that down or making it come on when it needs to come on, if you understand?
So if I think I understood what you just said. You want it basically to, the supports have got to be there for some of this stuff. If you can get away without doing the supports, yes, you can turn the supports off. But like if you do, and I'll show this in a second once I get off this screen, but like the technical side of the supports is where this software is different. And all I basically do is keep it normal. I mean, you can do a tree or you can do normal supports. I don't like the trees because the tree is more like the resin supports. And I like more of the line supports.
Yeah.
So that's why I leave it that way. So support placement is like what touches the build plate or everywhere. I always leave it on everywhere. The overhang is like on a figure, the chin. And you can change this to where it's 90% overhang, or maybe it's 80. Okay. You still want you want the support pattern at zigzag because you don't want it to be different than the in-feed structure. Okay. Density. I turn it up, but it means the supports are harder to get off.
Does it mean what color you use? I heard there's different colors that are no-go. There's our colors better than others.
That's basically a preference, right?
Yeah.
But I turn the supports all the way up, and then there's a spot down below where I can break it all up. And that's why. But basically that density thing, it just makes it harder for the supports to come off, but it also makes it to where they work great. So there's a give and take there. But I mean, these are all technical things, and that's all I play with. Yeah. The rest of it, I leave just stock. Okay. So the build plate, I always use a raft because then it builds the first layer and then it will build the figure.
Right. Right.
And I've had good results with that. I mean, yeah, you use a little bit of plastic, but and then you get down here to the bottom. I leave all this stuff stock. What it comes up with. Where is it at? And then you have break up supports in chunks. I click that. And you can make it bigger or you can make it smaller. Oh.
Yeah.
And that's just a preference, right? It's whatever you want to do. But if you do this, if you turn that one up to 90, so it's the density up to 90, this will make it easier for it to break apart.
Yeah, take a sports off, like, sorry.
Right. So yeah, I mean, like I was saying, it's not. Oh, what did I do? Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, it's not complicated, but it's that I have to test it out, see what I kind of like, and then go from there. But like all these bigger figures, these are all 3D printed off of filament. And if I get close enough, you can kind of see how the hands all mingled up because I did it so long ago.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
For me, it's nothing more frustrating. If, say, if a toxic build takes 12 hours and you're 6 hours in the build and it starts failing.
Yeah, I mean, it is but this is all PLA. Some of the joints you have to clean up, but sometimes I don't do it. Sometimes I do. It just, and then you get other ones like Predator here. This is probably one of the cooler figures I've printed out.
I actually have a print on both machines downloaded for Ripley out of Aliens. You know the big machine she used, the Aliens 2, I think it was. The big machine that carried the loads. Big yellow machine.
Yeah.
I have that, and I've seen it on some of the like the channels, and it's a good 12 inches in height. It's a good size of a build, like so. But again, I just can't get it to fit into my resin printer because my resin printer has only got a certain height. Will go up. I tried to downscale it, but it just doesn't fit on the build plate. I can't get my head around it, so I can't fit it on the plate. Now, the bigger one there, as I spoke about earlier, the PLA printer, it'll fit on that, not a problem. Straight onto it. Well, it's getting the software set up for it. I just haven't got my head around to it to set it all up. No doubt that probably in the new year, God spurs, I will get my head around things and set it up once and for all.
I know what helped me out a lot with the PLA stuff is getting like small things off like Thingiverse. And
that's what I would use, yeah.
And
Thingiverse, yeah.
And don't make them really complicated, right? Get them to where they have like a little bit of a hangover, and you can orient the print too, so it'll print out better.
I did print something. I did print something there yesterday, which was the pallet truck. Now, it didn't fully print. One of the wheels is missing the opposite side here. Again, it's just resin. There's only a test print. That was for the Coca-Cola truck. I was planning to download some of the boxes of Coca-Cola and bottles and stuff like that, just to put in the back of it when the back of it's open. But as I say, 2 attempts, and it always comes out like that. One wheel missing. Now I've changed the fat twice. I've changed all my settings twice. I don't know why the file's corrupt, or it's just something that I'm doing wrong somewhere along the line.
So my question on that one is, how are you hollowing that out?
There's not really to hollow out, if you understand. It's just
no. There's an option on the resin
yeah,
stuff.
there's an option for it, yeah, but I don't think I'm down that road. No.
Okay.
No.
I would go in and look to see if you can change the settings so it's a little bit thicker. Right. Instead of being like 0.25 thick, see if you can get it to like 0.75. So it'll print out a little more sturdier.
The rest of the rest of the details are nice and crisp, but the wee wheels itself, it's on the back of the trolley. You're talking about 2 millimeters, maybe 3 in diameter. For the wheels itself. So as I say, the second time I printed it, and the second time one of the wheels didn't print.
And
So,
and I'm not gonna lie, the resin stuff was super hard for me to learn when I first got into it. So I completely understand.
I have a printer about getting into 3 years, and the first prints that I done was the prints for that Resident Evil build. Them prints come out fine as far as I was concerned, like the figures. But see, once I started printing things off, like cones, and I printed the wee cone, come out okay. Printed all them cones, you can do them different scales and so forth. But like those wee trolleys, you're just not playing ball at all. It's getting a bit frustrating after a while because not only are we wasting resin, it takes an hour and 45 minutes to write the print for all the size of it. And you're getting, say, 3/4 of the way in, and you can see it on the build plate. Oh, no, there's a wheel missing. Here we go again. Well, I cancel the print. No point in cancel, or no point, sorry, continuing on with the rest of the print. You're wasting resin. So just cancel it. So there's obviously something I'm doing wrong somewhere along the line. It's just going into my settings and maybe tweaking things here and there, and hopefully that'll sort the problem out. As you said about hollowing out. So I'll try it and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many, like, even with the PLA stuff, the resin stuff, just little things can take the print completely not to where to work. Temperature, like inside the room that you're printing in, matters. Like, right. I don't print this time of year because it's too cold.
Well, it's like, according to my thermometer, it's on the wall. It's 21 degrees in here now at the minute.
Wait, 21 degrees?
21.
Yeah, that's probably why, because it needs to be like
21.4 degrees.
I want to say maybe it needs to be warmer. But that's one of those things, I know what works here, right? Where I'm at.
Right.
So hopefully
there's a lot of factors that you have to look into. It's just like I'm going to buy a 3D printer and plug it in, bang, where you go. You expect it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So these guys are going to have to ban these printers at 200 quid, 400 quid plus, and expect to work miracles with it. It's like everything else, you have to learn how to work it. And unfortunately, I'm still learning with this.
Yeah, no, the PLA stuff, I seem to, once someone kind of helped me out a little bit, there's a couple people that helped me out. So once I kind of got that, I was off and running. I like I've been doing the Predator. I've gotten all the Justice League. I want to do the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I might do that in resin. But yeah, it's crazy how just little things can totally throw off a printer. It's
yeah. It's, as I said earlier, it's very frustrating. So it is very, very frustrating. Here you go again. Back to school. Start the print again, does the same thing. So it's very discouraging too. So it is.
Like I said, I understand, man. I completely understand. And I'll open up Cheeto Box once we get off of here, and I'll try to help you. But at least what I know, right? The PLA stuff, I don't mind showing people online because, not all that's, I got that figured out. It's the other side of it that it takes a little bit. And
yeah.
We're
with me here. I need to go to the toilet. Be back in a second.
All right. So I'm not sure if he has any more questions for me or not, but we'll get back to him in a second. I was gonna do this kit, for the NASCAR build, but I guess apparently you're not allowed snap kit. So I'm gonna have to buy another NASCAR kit to do that one. But BG has a small scale kit, and this is 1/32. So I'm gonna do this one for his group build. That's gonna be future plans. I want to try to finish a couple of these figures. Yeah, I want to try to finish a couple of these figures that I've printed out now. Yeah, at some point, right? All right, he's back. Did you have any more questions for me?
Not that I can think of now, no.
Okay, well, I'm going to end this, and then we'll talk in a couple minutes, okay?
Grant?
All right? All right, everybody. So hopefully you all learned as much as I did today. And if you don't know that, if you're not subscribed to his channel, there's a link. There's a link in the description how to get to his channel. So go check it out. Awesome builder. So I will see you guys next week. And I believe it's Thomas's next week. I'll have to look, but I'll see you guys next weekend. Bye.